Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 365. This episode, as always, brought to you by our friends at Boost Mobile. Damonza, rough weekend for me. There's no getting around it. And it started off so, rough weekend's not even the right way to put it. It was just a rough Sunday because Friday was glorious doing the show live from Kansas City. It was an all-timer. And then Saturday was wildly profitable, hopefully not just for me, but for our listeners, because the great Nick Schulman, the What's Right boxing expert, analyst, correspondent, did an hour with us last week and gave us every single reason to bet Terrence Bud Crawford in an upset. And Terrence Bud Crawford dominated that fight. And we were rolling. And even early Saturday after, really it's just the Chiefs game. Like, what am I talking about? Like, everything, it's just Chiefs game. I got a little, I feel, unlucky with my 5 picks, where I ended up going 2-3 this weekend. One of the losses was the Jags plus 3.5. They lost by 4 in a game they gave away. Just in total Jagsian fashion, gave away. And another loss was Arizona laying 6.5. They're up 27-8 late in the game. Like, late in the game, Kyler throws a pick. They allow a touchdown. They allow what might be the only successful onside kick of the year. And all of a sudden, not only do they not cover, they almost lost the game outright. But, as the kids say, we move. We're going to be okay. We'll get to all of that. You, on the other hand, just can't lose a teaser. Hitting you're hitting player props left and right. You're on fire over on the West Coast.
I'm trying. Teaser look good. We didn't hit any prop bets this weekend, but yeah.
That's okay.
Like
the teaser looked good. You gave out a winning teaser. It's all you can hope for. I will say this. Team What's Right in the $1 million Splash Sports Survivor, we had the Cardinals. We have now used the Jags and the Cardinals. We're 2-0. We're feeling good. Now, I will say almost everyone's feeling good about Survivor at this point because nobody's lost anything. Yeah. One other note for the audience. I guess this is also for the Blue Duck folks, but it won't actually impact any of our schedules or anything. We're going to go back to doing what we did at the beginning of the pod, where the pick show is released as a separate episode on Friday. So we'll be live Thursday. We will then also, after we're live Thursday, do our pick show, you know what I mean? And then it will come out as its own standalone episode on Fridays. I know there was some confusion for folks because we did that this week and I didn't tell you guys, who listened to Thursday's episode and said, where were the picks? They were released later as their own thing. So just so everybody knows. And by the way, to make sure you get everything we do, like, rate, subscribe, review. YouTube is growing great. The iTunes and Spotify numbers are doing really well. We appreciate it. The only way you guys can help us more than just listening to the show is throwing us a subscription or even on top of that a review. So we would love that. Now let's get right into it. Straight to voicemail, brought to you by our friends at Boost Mobile. Bad couple first few weeks for the skinny football players out there. Xavier Worthy's got his shoulder popped out. Devontae Smith looked like he might have gotten hurt in the Chiefs game, and Jaden Daniels dealing with a knee sprain. That is certainly something to monitor. It is, fortunately for him, unfortunately for the rest of the league, not even close to the most dire of the quarterback injuries this weekend. We'll get to that. Crawford defeats Canelo and gives himself a real argument that if you want to call him the best pound-for-pound fighter of your lifetime, you can make that case now. He's 42-0. He basically jumped 3 weight classes to beat Canelo, and it was an all-timer. And I didn't think the fight was as close as the judges did. And then if I wasn't having a tough enough week, and I got to be careful, I'm not trying to take shots at the NFL, but NFL social media tweeting out never a doubt on what was the back-breaking touchdown for the Eagles over the Chiefs felt pointed and felt personal. I'm just going to be honest with you. Now, you can say that is egotistical. I don't think it is.
I think that was very niche. That's niche right there.
Well, whatever it is, I didn't love it. I got to tell you, I didn't love it, and it felt like a low blow. Now, maybe I'm just a little on tilt because of what happened in Chiefs-Eagles. So, Damonza, let's not delay anymore. Let's get right into it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Super Bowl rematch was rough for Chiefs fans and you. So there's a few things going on. The Tush Push is still alive and well. Mahomes is struggling to throw the ball deep, it would seem. And him and Kelce have had a few miscues that have potentially cost them games. Where would you like to start?
Okay, so we're going to start with the Chiefs side of things, and then we'll get into the Eagles, and then we will do a tush push discussion, okay? So I cannot, and producers tell me if the mic sounds a little better now. I am not going to sit here and act like everything's fine with the Chiefs right now. It isn't. There are some, I want to focus on the concerning things that have occurred in both games. Okay, so for instance, week 1, the secondary, which has been a strength of this team, looked hugely problematic against Herbert and the Chargers. Week 2, I thought the secondary looked really good, right? So that's one good game, one bad game. I'm not focusing on that. Here is what, through 2 weeks, looks problematic, and I don't know where the solve for it is. The Chiefs' running game is as inept right now as it's ever been since Patrick's been there. Pacheco, sadly, just does not look like the same player he was before he broke his leg. And what's odd about it is his biggest problem through 2 weeks doesn't seem to be explosion. It seems to be vision and hitting the right hole. You wouldn't think that is related to a lower body injury, but he just hasn't been effective. Kareem Hunt is who he is. If you need 1 yard, way more often than not, he will get it for you. But he has no chance of getting you 10. And they brought in Elijah Mitchell. Nothing's happened there. They drafted Rashard Smith in the, I think, 7th round. He's a 7th round rookie. They just right now don't have the horses in the running back room. And that is a spot that I would not at all hate for them to be active on in the trade market. I think there has been a lot of discussion of, should the Chiefs trade for Tyreek Hill? The wide receivers are coming back. Okay? If I were doing a trade with Miami, I might be equally, if not more, interested in Devin Achane. I think that there are running backs will be and should be available, and that might be a spot that they have to bite the bullet and spend some draft capital via trade on. So that's one piece. And here's another one. As good as Josh Simmons has been at the left tackle spot, Patrick still doesn't feel totally comfortable in his protection. Now, some of that's been the left guard spot's been really problematic, but Creed's great, Trey's great, Simmons is really good, Jawan Taylor, when he's not committing penalties, is fine, and Patrick just seems like he doesn't trust it right now. And I am as confident in Patrick Mahomes as any player that's ever played in the league that he will figure stuff out. And there have been times this season where it has felt like he's out there, I don't want to say by himself, but nobody can get open. They can't run the ball, which has forced him to, and this is the part of the season that I have liked the absolute least, it has forced him to activate playoff running Mahomes in weeks 1 and 2, and I despise that. Because it obviously it puts him in jeopardy, which is the biggest concern. But the other thing is, one of the reasons he has had the postseason success that he's had, one of the reasons he has been so much more dynamic and effective statistically and from a winning perspective on a per game basis than any other quarterback in the history of the league come the postseason, is because every single postseason he adds a huge weapon to his game that is not there in the regular season, which is the quarterback runs, the scrambles. And if he's using that during the regular season, it has just multiple concerns. One is he can get banged up. Another is you're not getting that auto postseason boost. Like Josh Allen and Lamar are unbelievable runners at the quarterback position. They do it starting in week 1 and never stop. So it doesn't add an element to their game come the playoffs. It has for Patrick. And the last, issue on offense is the greatest tight end in the history of the league has had a really rough 2 weeks. There's no way around it. Third play of the season, I thought it was Xavier's mistake. He says it was his mistake, that he ran the wrong depth of his route, and Xavier's hurt. Later in that game, he and Patrick aren't on quite the same page when they're down 9, about to score. They don't connect on what would have been a touchdown. And then obviously the Eagles game, they're about to take the lead, and he bobbles a pass and it turns into a game-changing interception. That's all it's been highly damaging. I don't know if it's yet highly concerning, but it's highly damaging, okay? So there is that piece of it. On the defensive side of the ball, the only complaint I have after week 2 is they cannot seem to get pressure without sending a blitz. Like, if they rush 4, they just cannot get home. So I don't know if that means the rookies, Ashton Gillott or Omar Norman Lott, need to be more effective. Certainly Charles Omenihu needs to be more effective. Mike Dana got hurt in this game. That didn't help. George Karlaftis just got paid by this team. He needs to be more effective. Like, Chris Jones is a man on an island at times. And so those are real problems. Okay? And right now the Chiefs don't deserve to be anything close to Super Bowl favorites. I'm not going to sit here and act like, they got unlucky, they got this. No. If anything, it is surprising that they have had a chance to win both of these games when they haven't played well. They've missed kicks in both games. They haven't forced a turnover. So that is the true and fair, sober analysis of where the Chiefs are through 2 weeks. Anything past that is nonsense. Anyone trying to peddle, should they be worried about making the playoffs, I think has lost their mind. Now, is the division for the first time in jeopardy? Yeah. When you're 0-2 and a team that beat you is 2-0 with a divisional win, it's understandable that the Chiefs are no longer the favorites in the division, Damonza. And where does Hard Rock Bet have them at right now?
They've got them at plus 240 to win the division. Should you hammer that?
I mean, Listen, as it's not surprising to you probably, I have a lot of exposure already on the Chiefs, futures and season and win total. But I think plus 240 is good value right now. When I do, right now, if I had to pick it, I would still pick the Chiefs to win the division. And part of that is some concerning stuff I saw.
Houston?
No, from the Chargers.
Oh,
The Houston doesn't apply here. From the Chargers last night, late in that game, and we'll get into that when we talk about the Chargers. I thought the Chargers almost went out of their way to try to keep the Raiders in that game, and it's what's true for Patrick is true for all these quarterbacks. Any quarterback that's running a ton early in the year, I get worried about, and Justin Herbert's running a lot. And, I think that, and he took a wicked shot yesterday, and then they also had him late in the game when the game was decided do another quarterback run that I totally didn't understand. And so I still believe the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC West. You can't right now say they're better than Buffalo or Baltimore. You can say, however, right now, in a span of 2 quick weeks, after for the last few years, the AFC clearly being the better of the two conferences, the NFC right now seems far superior and far deeper. Like Damonza, who are in the AFC East? Buffalo, Miami, New England, the Jets. There's one team you believe in Buffalo. Yeah. The AFC North, Baltimore, Cincy, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. There's one team you believe in. The AFC South, right now, there might be 0 teams you believe in unless you, or the generic you to the audience, really does believe what the Colts are doing is sustainable. Right. I don't know that I believe it. The AFC West, on the other hand, might have a bunch of, the Chargers, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Raiders. Still, it's remarkable to me how open the middle part of the conference is. And so I think it's fair to say the Chiefs have basically not punted, but given up the opportunity to be the 1 seed. I think that's fair. I think there's, there are real things they need to clean up. I also feel this way. They are potentially 12 days away from everyone saying how silly we should feel for writing off the Chiefs. Because you beat the Giants this weekend. You then have a game against Baltimore that if you win, you're right back to being the Chiefs. And all this stuff about, the mystique is gone or this or that, that's gone like that. And that conversation is gone. And so, big next few weeks. And big stretch of time before Rashid comes back. Xavier might be back this weekend. He'll definitely be back for the Raven game. And listen, they need to have a receiver that can beat man-to-man coverage. And the idea that Mahomes is being exposed without a dynamic receiver is belied by the fact that he won league MVP with a receiving core led by Juju and MVS, and the next year won Super Bowl MVP with an even worse receiving core. And last year, they went 15-2 and made the Super Bowl with Rashid missing basically the whole year. So I think that's too reactionary, but somebody's got to get open at some point. All right, before we get to the Tush Push, do you have one more follow-up you want to ask me?
Yeah, with how Philly fans are treating you, do you think treating you in person, are you thinking about taking MMA lessons?
So I know we're joking. I'm going to be serious about this just for a second. The grown adult Eagle fans that live in the New York area, and I have more sympathy for folks. When I was in Kansas City and ran into Eagle fans, I'd love to tell you the vast majority were great. They were not. The vast majority were obnoxious assholes. A few were great. But I had a group of 4 grown men in golf outfits at 8 in the morning, Friday morning, in front of the hotel we were both staying at, yell, like, scream at me. So like that, but I actually give those guys not a pass. You flew to town for a game. You're already, like, you're in game mode, whatever it is. Like, that is what it is. The Eagle fans that see me on the street in New York and accost me, for lack of a better term, are just out of their mind. Like, what? Like, on it, like you're just out of your mind.
What are you doing with your time right now, dude?
Say it again.
What are you doing with your time right now?
Well, it's just you're just like, what are you doing? You're not on the team, and this is, it is forever. I've said that whenever Damonza says to me, like, oh, you're getting killed online, or people are mad at you, or whatever, what I've said is, no, they're not. Like, maybe they are, but it doesn't matter because I don't see it. In order to tell me your feelings, you got to see me in person. And 99% of the people who see me in person, no matter what they've said online, they're incredibly gracious. It is really surprising the level of, like, angst and vitriol a team that is the defending champions, their fans have. And I find it,
is it
honestly,
the worst fan base? Not worst fan base, but worst fan base to you? Like, I feel like Buffalo was up there at one point.
But Buffalo fans were, here's the thing. I think I was...
You were really poking at Buffalo fans,
way more than Philly. And Buffalo fans were always awesome. Always. It is... And Buffalo fans, by the way, never won. They never... like, the...
And the archetype the combination of Eagle fan is already, like, a type of way, I feel like. Like, they're already...
Yeah, it's odd. People. I'm not making too big of a deal over it, but I'm not going to act like it's not noticeable.
Right.
That these, like, 38-year-old IT pros on their lunch break that see me walking in the city are like, hey, Nick Wright, fuck you. Like, hey, man. Like, we're like, that, it's a little weird. Like, it's just, and I just have a auto response of congrats on the Super Bowl. Like, I don't know what interaction you think we're gonna have here.
I mean, that's just held up, pent up anger.
But what I'm saying is, what are they? You got, they won. I don't know what they're mad about. I think that there is an element of their identity as sports fans is anger, and they don't know how to deal with the fact that they won. And so it is, I'm not going to pretend it's not weird. And people, the producer's asking if it happened with Niner fans or Buck fans. I'm telling you, and I am not exaggerating, it's never happened with any other fan base across any other sport to me. Like, there are some true diehard Kobe fans that really disliked me, particularly right after Kobe's tragic passing, because in that time, anybody that had, tape, if you will, of what they thought was being unfair to Kobe, those got shared a lot, in the moment after his passing. None of those folks, if I were to make a list of the 20 worst in-person interactions I've had with fans since I've been doing this, 18 of them would be Eagle fans since they won the Super Bowl.
Damn.
It's really weird. And so, like, and so it just...
You're out on these too.
Part of that might be geographically, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things. But it is odd, which is why this thing we're doing next, which is shining a light on the total bullshit that is the cheating of the Tush Push, delights me even more. We'll get to that in a second. But first, we're so excited to be partnered with, as our presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Everybody knows and loves the Hard Rock hotels and casinos, and now you can use the top-rated Hard Rock Bet sportsbook app to place your bets all NFL season and beyond. Hard Rock Bet is the only legal sportsbook in the state of Florida, the only one, and is also available in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states launching all the time. You can also play on Hard Rock Bet's online casino if you are in New Jersey. Throughout the football season, we'll be using Hard Rock Bet lines to make our predictions for the biggest games. As we gear up for the NFL season, sign up for Hard Rock Bet, make a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Head over to Hard Rock Bet, sign up, and make your first deposit today. All right, Damonza, let's get to the Tush Push stuff.
So you went on a rant yesterday on TV. Some people would say you went on a whine about the Tush Push and how unfair it is. You've had 24 hours to reconsider. Are you going to walk it back, or are you still sour on it?
Listen, and you have to be my eyewitness on this, Damonza. Okay? Well before the Eagles and Chiefs ever played in any Super Bowls, before the Chiefs beat them in the Super Bowl, before the Eagles were a real top flight contender, when we were doing the show from Trentage, your mom's store in Harlem, together, I hated this play. Can you confirm that that is true?
100%. I don't think there's ever been a point that the Tush Push existed and you didn't not like it.
Right. And it started in October of 2021. And my argument had always been multi-layered, but the basis of it is it's against the spirit of professional football because it's a rugby play. It's bad TV and it's a rugby play. And Simmons made this point, and I agree with him, where it is in the same family as if a team started having guys go piggyback on each other's backs to block field goals at the line of scrimmage. Like, oh, is there a specific rule against that? I don't know, but it doesn't feel like what we're supposed to be doing here. There was the old Reddit post of what if the Warriors signed 4 bodybuilders and had those 4 guys lock arms and Steph Curry stand in the middle of them and then shoot threes where nobody can get through. Like, is there technically a rule against it? I don't know, but it feels against the spirit of the sport we're playing. So that's why I've always hated it. It's not because, and by the way, the Eagles have beaten the Chiefs in one game that really matters to me, the Super Bowl, and they didn't need the Tush Push in that Super Bowl. They crushed us. They needed it in the first Super Bowl, but the Chiefs won. I don't give a shit about the regular season games, so you're just going to have to take my word for it, okay? That has always been my long-standing opinion. I have had 3 kind of additional prongs to the opinion, which is, first of all, if everyone got good at it, it would really hurt the NFL. If 3rd and short or 4th and short were no longer exciting or intriguing plays, that hurts the watchability and intrigue of the league. The second prong was, if the Eagles got better at it, it would snap ruin the sport. By better at it, I mean is, right now they can basically get 2 yards whenever they want. All that has to do is change to 4 yards, and for Philly to be like, okay, first play of the game, 1st and 10 from the 30, tush pushing the next 12 plays down the field. And you'd have to change the rule mid-season. But the third prong has also been this. Because one of the Eagles' defenses is, well, it must not be that easy because they're the only ones who can do it that well. Because they're the only ones that on 80% of them, half their team is offsides and the guards are firing early. And thankfully, Tom Brady and Dean Blandino shined a spotlight on that. It is hard enough to stop as is. But when every other snap of the game, just think about how you're watching football. Every other snap, you can see the ball from the above shot because it's in front of the center. And then the offensive line is in a slight arc where the center is the furthest out, but his head's behind the ball. The guards are a little bit behind him, and the tackles are a little bit behind them, except for tackles like Lane Johnson for the Eagles or Jawan Taylor for the Chiefs, who are quite a bit, behind to get a little early jump. The tush push, you can't see the ball because the center is, the ball is behind where the center is. Like where the center's head is. That's illegal. And you don't know when the ball's been snapped because you can't see it, which for the refs makes it impossible to tell, wait, did the guards go early to get an advantage just by a quarter of a second? And you might say, what's a quarter of a second? We see every day in the NFL an offensive lineman just barely shift back in his stance. It's a flag. That is happening on steroids. 80% of Eagles tush pushes. Go back and watch the Vikings try it on Sunday Night Football. And what you'll see is they're lined up like a regular play. And those can be stopped. So if the commissioner of the league doesn't want it, 22 of the 31 other teams don't want it, at the very least, can it be officiated correctly? At the very least, because here's the thing, Damonza, a false start penalty on tush push plays is devastating.
Yeah.
Because they're going for 4th downs they wouldn't otherwise go for. You know what I mean? It's not like a false start on 1st and 10 is not that big of a deal. A false start on 4th and 1 when you're either at the goal line or on your own 35, as the Eagles are wont to do in either of those spots, totally changes the math entirely. And here is why.
So they're cheating.
Well, I'm not going to call them cheating because they're doing what the refs will let them get away with. I'm asking, here is my belief. A little over 2 years ago, in Jawan Taylor's first game as a Chief, I think it was his first game. I know it was his first game of the season. Regardless, against the Detroit Lions, Chris Collinsworth made a point to harp on the broadcast, he is jumping early. And it's something he had always done in Jacksonville before he came to Kansas City. It had never really been a problem. But Collinsworth pointed it out on the broadcast, and all of a sudden, every ref was attuned to it, and he became the most penalized player in the league. What I wonder is, will Tom Brady, having focused on that they are jumping early on the tush push, and then Dean Blandino coming on the same broadcast and saying, yeah, guys, I'm done with the tush push. It's too hard to officiate. Will that make the officiating crews across the country more aware, oh, this is something we have to watch? Because if Philly starts just even occasionally getting false starts on it, it massively kneecaps its effectiveness. And my prediction is that, oh, I didn't see this. I didn't know that. I missed that last night where the refs made the Chargers O-line adjust how they were going to tush push because of how they were lined up. I'll watch that. Thanks, guys, for putting that in the doc. But my guess is they're now aware that what they're doing is not allowed. And it certainly is going to be banned after this year. I think there is no doubt about it. But I just wonder if it's going to lose some effectiveness during the year. Luckily, Philly will be fine without it because Jalen Hurts is such a prolific downfield passer this season.
Yeah, that graphic was pretty crazy.
I mean,
that's pretty.
And that's not that different from week one, where now he hit the one deep ball to Jahan Dotson in week one. He hit the one deep ball to Devontae Smith in week two.
That's boring.
Jalen Hurts is not a dynamic drop back passer. He is better than what we've seen through 2 weeks. And to not be giving him the opportunities to hit A.J. Brown down the field is odd. And I think that there is, right now, what is keeping that afloat is not afloat, but under wraps, is that they've won. Okay? Because I think A.J. is not all too pleased about not getting opportunities. And I say that because A.J. Brown told us himself, let me see if I can find it. There it is.
He's going to have the
A.J.
Quran
Brown
memorized
told
by
us
the end.
himself. What'd you say, Damonza?
So they said he was going to have the Quran memorized by the end of the season.
Oh, so here, A.J. Brown on Instagram, 4 days after the Super Bowl, quote, I tried to feel how everyone made it seem to be a champion, and unfortunately it was short-lived. 2 days to be exact, LOL. I've never been a champion at the highest level before, but I thought my hard work would be justified by winning it all. It wasn't. My thrill for this game comes when I dominate. It's the hunt that does it for me. It's when the DB drops his head and surrenders because he can't F with me. That is A.J. Brown's own words. So I don't know how happy A.J. Brown is with what is been the Eagles' offense up to this point. All right, let's get Damonza to the Joe Burrow injury in the Bengals.
Joe Burrow was knocked out early with a turf toe injury. So he's going to get surgery, and he's going to miss at least 3 months. And this is his third major injury. Where do the Bengals go from here without Burrow?
All right, remember our rules, guys, on NFL injury announcements, okay? If the initial reporting is he's fine, it means he might miss a week. If the initial reporting is escaped major injury, he's probably out a month. If the initial reporting is the team is highly concerned, he's almost assuredly out a year. In the new age of NFL insider media, for some reason, there is this, I would imagine it's a request by agents to always put the sunniest possible time frame on injuries. So when the initial reporting is at least 3 months for Joe Burrow, you should read that to mean he is done for the season. Okay? And here's why the reporting stuff on it matters. So I saw some people yesterday like doing the math. They're like, all right, 3 months. So October, November. So he could be back by mid-December. If the Bengals are already 2-0, if they can, just play 500 ball, then he's back for the stretch run, gets a few games under his belt before the playoffs. No chance. No, that's not realistic. Sadly, Joe Burrow is almost assuredly done for the year. And this was not a fluke. This was, I don't want to call it predictable, but all offseason, and you guys know this if you listen to this show, and by the way, we appreciate everyone who does, and please subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and Spotify and all that. Leave us a review if you'd like. Certainly give us 5 stars if you don't mind. The Bengals conversation was simply well, if the defense can just get a little bit better, we know the offense is going to be great. And I said more than once, one of the reasons I was not a Bengals believer was I thought their offensive line, which already had been shaky, was worse this year potentially than it was last year. And through 2 games, really a game and a half, you saw Joe Burrow getting the hell knocked out of him. And so part of that is a team failing, right? Here's another thing. And this is something that it's just the reality. It's Damonza, you might think this is harsh. I don't mean it to be. But I think if you watch the Bengals, this is something Joe Burrow needed to improve on and didn't. He is so often hunting the big play downfield, even when there's guys diving at his legs, like the pocket's breaking down. He has, and it's one of the reasons he's so great, is because he's going to stand in there and, as opposed to, honestly, like the way Patrick played last year, which is, nope, get rid of the ball. Get rid of, the example I gave, and you're too young to really have watched this guy, Burrow oddly plays within the pocket a lot like Big Ben did, where there's going to be guys hanging all over me, and but Big Ben, he was named Big Ben for a reason. You know what I mean? He was huge. He was incredibly durable. That's not, so like, I'm not blaming Joe Burrow for being hurt. What I'm saying is the style, he hasn't adjusted his style of play given how critical he is to that team having any shot. And so now this is a player who, and this is the worst, the worst accolade imaginable. He has a real chance, Damonza, to become the only guy in the history of the NFL to win the comeback player of the year 3 times. He's already won it twice. You don't want that, man. That's like, he blew out his knee as a rookie, came back and won it. He got his elbow torn up a couple years ago, came back and won it. And now he's going to have played a game and a half this year.
Is it some saving grace that it's like a toe thing, though? At least it's, it's not knee.
Oh.
Not his elbow.
So.
That's unfortunate he's injured. But
it doesn't, you would not expect this at all to have next year impacts. Yes, I agree. You know what I mean? You expect him to come back the exact same player, right? The flip side of that is he's now had 3 catastrophic injuries to 3 totally unrelated parts of his body.
Hey, I feel
you know what
that.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like you've had some similar,
just everywhere
stuff there. Where it's like, man, I've dealt with a shoulder, I've dealt with an ankle, I've dealt with this. Like for Joe, he's dealt with an ACL, some weird elbow ligament thing, and now turf toe, which never happens to quarterbacks. And so this idea that producers, if you guys don't mind, check on Hard Rock what the Bengals are right now, yes, no, to make the playoffs. Because there is, I guess, a level of, they are 2-0 with 2 divisional wins. Like, can they overcome this? And Jake Browning, obviously, when he played a couple years ago, played well enough, and they went 500. I just think their next month, Damonza, of defenses, 3 of these games on the road. They're at Minnesota, at Denver, home for Detroit, at Green Bay.
Yeah.
That feels like 1-3 at best and a real possibility. And I hate to say it, but a real possibility that Browning doesn't make it through that. Like, with that offensive line the way it is, and they signed Sean Clifford to the practice squad today, which they have to. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to see. Oh, on their practice squad, they already had Brett Rippon and Mike White. Like,
go and get Anthony Richardson from the Colts or something.
Oh, that's interesting. Kirk Cousins.
Trey Lance is out there somewhere.
Trey Lance, interesting. I mean, I don't know. Like, right now, Jake Browning's a better option than all those guys definitively, except for maybe Kirk, and maybe Kirk as well. Browning's fine. But, so they're on Hard Rock Bet, they're to make the playoffs, no -210, yes, +165. That seems a little optimistic. That also, though, speaks to the power of being 2-0 with 2 conference wins and 2-0 in the AFC right now. All right, what's follow-up here, pal?
Yeah, how did your guy Trevor not pull this out against Jake Browning, and the guy threw 3 picks? What happened there? Screwed me over.
That was such a horrifying loss for the Jags. I mean, Browning threw 3 picks, including one that just has to end the game. So, when the Jags are up 27-24 early in the 4th, the Bengals go 3 and out. The Jags then have a 9-play drive. They end with a punt. Jake Browning then throws an interception that is returned to the Bengals 12-yard line. The Jags have the ball. They're up 3. They have 1st and 10 from the 12 with 5 minutes left. And they lose, man. I'm not going to kill Liam Cohen for going for that 4th down. You guys have heard me say before, I oddly prefer sometimes to be up 3 than up 6. I hate the up 6. Like up 3, it feels like the other team's a little more conservative. They will obviously kick a field goal. So I didn't blame him saying a touchdown wins us this game. If we don't pick it up, we're giving it to you at the 8. And you're less likely to be so aggressive. And maybe they should have won. Sorry, my allergies are killing me. Maybe they should have won because I thought the Travis Hunter pass interference was a bad call. But you cannot find a way to lose that game. And early in the game, Trevor with a vintage Trevor mistake. It's 7-0 Jacksonville. The Bengals go 3 and out. The Jags move the ball right down the field. And on 3rd and goal from the 8, Trevor just throws a hope and a prayer that gets picked off. Now, his other pass that got picked off was Brian Thomas Jr., who had a alligator arm situation the whole game. But in Brian Thomas Jr.'s defense, Trevor's got to stop throwing these hospital balls, man. Like, that was a great opportunity for the Jags. And to lose a game when Joe Burrow gets hurt and Jake Browning throws 3 picks. And by the way, Trevor throws for 270 and 3 touchdowns. You run for $140. It's just such a Jags loss. Just such a Jags loss. Shout out Paige Beckers. She won Rookie of the Year. Breaking news.
Shout out Paige. Who do you think was more wrong, head coach Liam Cohen for telling his quarterback where to throw the ball, or Trevor for waving his coach off?
Liam, you can't. You can't. You listen. You can do that privately on the sideline. You barking at your quarterback when he is trying, like he's still like has to call a play, run a play. There's that to me was ridiculous. All right, Damonza, we got a lot more to do here, so let's go. We'll go quickly through the rest of the games before we go to our Monday staple. All the games that didn't get their own section, we're gonna give them 20 or 30 seconds each, so we hit every game in the league this weekend.
Oh, so the Bucs moved to 2-0 after a late score led by Baker late in the game. Is betting Baker down a score late in the game as much of a lock? Is good of a lock these days? Sorry.
Yeah, listen. Shout out producer Daniel, who texted the group when Baker got the ball back down 5. Is this an auto bet? And I think I bet it. I think he bet it. I also had the Bucs parlayed with the Raiders, so I'm glad I bet it because I ended up losing that one. So this made up for it. Couple things about that. One is about the specific game, and then I'll get to Baker. I never feel like teams or very often announcers make a big enough deal of the 2-point conversion to go up 7. So last night, the Texans, Nick Chubb breaks off this great run. So they score with, how much time is left when they score? 2:10 left. And that 2-point conversion they go for there is just so wildly important. Because you get it, and likely overtime's the worst case scenario. You don't get it, and you almost feel like, man, do we wish Chubb hadn't have scored? Because if Chubb had gone down, and then you're in a position where, because they were, at the time, Houston was down, what would they have been down? They were down 4, right? They're down, hold on, I'm an idiot. Why can I not get this right? Hold on, they got, why am I so dumb right now? The score of the game
about 5
was 14-13. Yeah, Jesus. They were down 1. What the hell just happened there? And if Chubb doesn't score, all of a sudden Tampa's having to use its timeouts. You're kicking a field goal, potentially later. But Chubb does score. That's great. You want the 7. But what you need is the 8. They don't get the 2-point conversion, and now Baker's in business. All 3 timeouts, 2 minutes, can get going. With that said, Texans had him in 4th and 10, and then Baker did some really cool Baker stuff, escaping the rush, running, seemingly got hurt, then got saved by the fact that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was talking trash, and all of a sudden he wasn't hurt anymore, and he popped up to talk trash right back to him. Baker's just the best. And Baker absolutely can win league MVP this year. Absolutely can. And the Bucs absolutely can be the 1 seed as predicted on this show. Bucs.
So you're not easing off of that.
No. Why would I?
100%.
I mean, they have played 2 road games against teams that were considered either possible or likely playoff teams. They could have lost both, and Baker made game-winning plays in the waning moments of both. Now they get the Jets, then a tough home game against the Eagles, but they play the Eagles really well. Seahawks, Niners, Lions, it's not easy, but no, they've got a
The
real...
Bucs are missing a couple guys on offense right now, too, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Godwin's
back.
going to be coming back.
Yeah.
No. Now, I think they lost... excuse me. Kalijah Cansey in that game. That's concerning, but no. The Bucs are for real. Now on the Baker piece of it. It really gets lost in the shuffle, Damonza. Not lost in the shuffle, but I just want to reiterate this. That the Cleveland Browns spent the number 1 overall pick on Baker Mayfield. Watched him in his 2nd year win a playoff game for them. And then they were like, yeah, he's not good enough for us. They're like, yeah, we can do better. You're the Cleveland Browns. And you decided that Baker Mayfield was not, and I said in his 2nd year he won the playoff game. It was in his 3rd year he won the playoff game, pardon me. You decided a guy who won a playoff game as a Browns homegrown starting quarterback wasn't good enough for you because Odell Beckham Jr.'s dad put out an Instagram mixtape ripping him in a year he played hurt. And now you're just in hell. It's really, really unbelievable. And I love seeing Baker have this success. I love it
awesome.
So much. The flip side, Damonza, is panic meter is at a 7 for the Texans and for CJ.
He needs to stop.
It's at a 7.
Basketball pregame. Like if you're losing, like after he shouldn't bring it out in the 3rd game. He's done it the first 2 games. He shouldn't be out there.
I don't even know. I'll be honest. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, it's probably
No,
like more
tell
of an
me.
algorithm. Well, CJ's out.
No.
He's like doing between the legs, walking up and down the field. Maybe be throwing it to your receivers or something. You guys need to be more in tune. But yeah, while losing, that you can't be doing that. I just feel like, come on, let's stick to the sport. But,
no, I like it. I mean, I like your critique of it.
But yeah,
Also,
like you said, ever since he said that thing to Caleb Williams, it's just kind of been on a downward slope.
Contractually obligated to give you guys the numbers on this one. CJ Stroud, let me see if I can get Football Reference to cooperate with me. CJ Stroud, through that game with Caleb Williams in the regular season in his career, 11-6, 26 touchdowns, 5 picks, a 101 rating. CJ Stroud, since he told Caleb Williams, come here, young fella, let me teach you a thing or two. 8-9, 18 touchdowns, 13 picks, and 85 rating. Life can come at you fast, man. And the Texans' offensive operation just does not look good. The defense is still awesome, but what the Texans have going for them, obviously, is the division they're in. And if you don't believe in the Colts, that division's going to feel winnable. But they're at Jacksonville this weekend.
Big game.
That's it for both teams.
Big game, yeah.
Big game. Then they get a little respite against the Titans. Then it's at the Ravens, at Seattle. Gets tough, man. And so, yeah, I'd be a little more than a little nervous if I were the Texans. All right, let's get to the other Monday night game.
So the Chargers look good again for the most part last night with another divisional win. Do you think this is the cream of the crop in that division?
Listen, I think the Chiefs will end up winning the division, but I have to give credit. The Chargers have looked really good. Now, I thought the Chargers at the end of the game, as I said earlier, made some really, really poor game management decisions. And I don't understand. Like, the Chargers, it's fine, I guess. But it is odd to me that both the Chargers and odder for the Raiders spent such premium draft picks on running backs and don't want to give them the ball. Like, the Raiders' refusal to get Ashton Genty involved, and it's like because he's not good in pass protection, well, just have, I understand you don't want to tip your hand on, oh, we're running this guy's, on the field, but you can't spend the 6th pick of the draft on a guy. He was, and give him 11 carries in a game where Geno's having the worst game of his career. You just can't do it. And the Chargers defense looks awesome. And Herbert's been really good. My only Charger concern is I think Herbert's running it too much. And that is concerning. The other piece of that game is, and do we have any reporting on what Khalil Mack's injury was? I know that he was in a sling and he was holding his arm, and so that didn't look good. That could be really damaging as well. The Raiders, it would have been amazing if the Raiders could have started 2-0. They'll take 1-1, especially because, Damonza, Raiders next 4 at the Commanders in a game Jaden might not play. Then home Bears, at Colts, home Titans. Raiders really need to make hay this next month, and Geno will bounce back. That was a really rough Geno game, and we talked a little bit about the Chargers earlier. All right, guys. I am so excited in that I might, for the first time in years, go to a Chiefs road game. You know why? Because the Chiefs are playing in the New York area when they play the Giants, and all of a sudden, a must-win game against the New York Giants. And if I do go, you know how I'll get there. My friends at SeatGeek, the sponsor of today's show. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports festivals, and more. With the NFL season here and MLB playoffs approaching, now is the perfect time to get to a game with SeatGeek. How about this as a time that I use SeatGeek? And here it is for the Giants-Chiefs game. You can just see it again. The big green dots are the best. Stay away from the red dots. I thought I was going to be able to get some comped tickets to Crawford Canelo. But long story short, my guy who has a guy who I thought was going to get the tickets, my guy's guy came down with shingles. So he wasn't going to go, so we couldn't get the tickets. Moral of the story is, I had promised a friend, I was like, hey, I'll get you some tickets to Crawford Canelo. I should be able to get them. Don't buy them. And then I forgot. And then he texts me on Friday, hey man, just a reminder, you never sent me the tickets. I'm in Vegas. So you know what I did? I just kind of bit the bullet. I was like, all right, well, I'm not getting the tickets for free. at least I'll get the best deal possible with our friends at SeatGeek. And I bought a couple tickets to Canelo Crawford. SeatGeek, what they again, best deal I could have gotten. Still, big fight, expensive ticket. I then ended up just kind of adding that much to the bet, and we bet Crawford, so we're fine. It's neither here nor there. Point is, SeatGeek came through for me at the last minute. Every ticket's backed by their buyer guarantee, and you guys can come through for me as well by using code WRIGHT10, WRIGHT 10, for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. 10% off any tickets with promo code WRIGHT10. Make sure you click the link in the description, download the app, and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. All right, Damonza, we've got to really hurry up. We're going too long. I'm going to miss my spot with Colin. We got to keep going. Let's get to the other games.
All right, so the Lions are looking good, or back to looking good again.
Yeah.
They demolished the Bears 52-21. Your guy Caleb saw his stock plummet a little bit more. The bigger story here, the Lions' domination or how bad the Bears are?
Listen, I actually don't think Caleb's stock took a hit in this game. I didn't think he was great. I thought he was fine. The story, when a team allows 52, the story can't be the team who allowed 52, their quarterback. The story can either be their defense or the other team's offense. And I think the story is the Lions kind of having don't write us off, after one bad game reminder. And Goff looking really good, and Dan Campbell getting a little get back. And so that to me is the story of that game, is Detroit steadied itself after the playoff game goes terrible, week 1 goes terrible, and they know they're staring down a game in Baltimore this weekend. So had they started 0-2, it'd get late early for the Detroit Lions. Instead, they demolished the Bears, and the Bears, on the other hand, are feeling like, man, oh man, how far away are we from just being a good team, much less a great team? And right now they look really far. Again, I did not think this was a Caleb game as far as the story. He had the one horrific pick. He had another decision that could have resulted in a pick. I'm not going to freak out about that. I am going to tell you that they have Cowboys, Raiders, Commanders, Saints as their next 4. And if they don't come out of that at least 2-2 and probably need to be 3-1, they're in real trouble. And they might already be in real trouble. I picked them to make the playoffs. I don't think they're dead on that front, but they're in quite the hole. Listen, when I picked them to make the playoffs, I thought through 2 games they'd be 1-1. So it's, they're only 1 game off that pace. But how they've looked, and this is where blowing that Vikings game keeps you up at night. All right, next.
So over there in Dallas, there were 5 lead changes and 41 points scored in the fourth quarter alone. Aubrey sent it to overtime on a 64-yarder and then hit the game winner on the 5th possession of overtime. You left this game angry with Dallas. Thoughts? Why was that?
Yeah, well, listen, Brandon Aubrey is one of the most valuable players in the league. The fact that the Cowboys it was going to be a 67-yard field goal, they had time to try to push the ball downfield, and they're like, no, we'll just hand it off because we're now well within his range, is so bananas. And, Dak looked great. The reason I left the game angry with Dallas is because what we have seen from the Cowboys through 2 weeks tells me I was too low on them before the Micah trade. And had they kept Micah Parsons, that team could be really interesting. And Jerry's whole narrative that the media ran with, that Micah's actually so bad against the run that this trade helps us long-term and short-term. We've now seen the defense in 2 games without him, and they can't do anything. That's the best game of Russell Wilson's whole life until he threw the pick at the end. We were talking about that being the final start of Russell's career. It ends up being maybe the best start of his career because that Cowboys defense is that bad without Micah. All right, let's go to the Niners.
So last week you soft launched that you were rooting for Mac Jones, and he passed for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns. How was this game about you and Jimmy G?
Well, listen, and for anyone, for the folks, if they're watching this pod at the First Things First offices, turn it way up or have Wilds come down to the conference room so we can hear this. Because it is so galling to me that my colleagues, really Wilds, can't just say out loud on the show, all right, Nick was right all along about the Niners quarterback position needing to be judged differently than everyone else's because of the Shanahan system. We argued for 3 years about Jimmy Garoppolo, with my take being he's actually not good. And he's went to a Super Bowl, been in a conference championship game. And my take was he's not good. That's the Shanahan system and the weapons. And a lot of quarterbacks could have that level of success. They then drop in the final pick of the draft. He goes to a conference championship game and a Super Bowl, and we now then argue for 2 years that actually that guy's really special too. That guy's really good. And then while we see Jimmy G leave there and immediately become a backup, we then see that last pick of the draft get hurt. They drop in Mac Jones, who's been horrible for 3 years. He looks really good. And the answer is, well, maybe Mac's a new player. Jesus, guys, I know I can be obnoxious. I know I can be annoying at times. Sometimes, though, you just got to be like, damn it, Nick was right. Turns out, Shanahan, certainly Shanahan plus McCaffrey, can inflate a quarterback's stats in a way that EPA per play can't judge. And the whole I wouldn't pay Brock Purdy $55 million a year. Well, when you can get that production from a guy making $5 million, that's why. So I was always and have always been right about this. And
why
folks
don't the Niners just keep doing that?
Yeah.
They just
say it again.
Paying a quarterback less money and keep
I don't
the
know.
Shanahan system and keep the weapons.
That's perplexing to me. I don't know why they feel like they need to spend money for just average talent at the position, that you're paying them like they're an elite talent because of what you do to make. I don't know why they do it. But at this point, folks just don't want me to be right. And so they're going to create a bunch of different, well, here's why. Here's why. It's just so silly. Ever sign up for a phone plan thinking, wow, great price. And then a few months later, surprise, your bill's higher. Boost Mobile, you pay $25 a month forever. That's unlimited talk, text, and data starting just $25 a month. No price hikes, no contract, forever. Plus, Boost Mobile is now a legit nationwide 5G network. They've invested billions building 5G towers across the country. Visit boostmobile.com or head to your local Boost store today and get unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month forever. 5G speeds not available in all areas. After 30 gigs, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan. All right, Damonza, I promise you guys, hold on, I have to text my ride that I'm going to be out, that I'm a little late. Be out in 5. Apologies. All right, I want to hit every game. So, Falcons beat the Vikings. The story of that game is J.J. McCarthy got hurt. The real story of that game is J.J. McCarthy looked totally out of sorts. And we are now at 7 of 8 quarters. He's looked awful. Unbelievable fourth quarter game 1. But quarters 1 through 3, quarters 1 through 4 of week 2, he looked way over his skis. That's a concern. So that's a real worry, and now it's a Carson Wentz time in Minnesota. Don't love that. Ravens beat the Browns 41-17. Were you ever nervous, Damonza?
It started off pretty slow, but I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that I was ever nervous. Joe Flacco just gave it to us at one point, but yeah, dude, it's
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird game because the Ravens didn't have a ton of yards. Derrick Henry did nothing. And the Browns moved the ball, but the Browns just Brownsed it repeatedly. Got a pump blocked, Flacco mistake, just bad errors. And the Ravens, last year, the Ravens lost to the Raiders in week 2, started 0-2. So for them to just put it on them like that, I thought was great. Bills beat the Jets. My only concern there is Josh Allen, it looked like broke his nose. Like
a little nosebleed.
Yeah, I thought it was worse than just nosebleed. Like, I wondered what happened to him there. But the Bills looked awesome. Josh didn't have to do much. The Jets' defense all of a sudden is a huge concern. You let the Steelers score 34 and the Bills score 30. Speaking of the Steelers, Seahawks defeat the Steelers 31-17. What everyone's focused on in that game is the Steelers kick returner forgetting the rule and the Seahawks getting a free touchdown out of it. You're shaking your head. What do you focus on?
Is it Aaron Rodgers just completely blaming the guy after the game? Or is it?
The kid, Calvin Austin, who's your age, Damonza,
he's a great
been in
kid,
the
but
league
he
4
freaking
years.
threw the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Rodgers was really bad in this game. And he doesn't know how to accept that he is no longer good. And I think the week 1 mirage probably made it harder for him to accept it. But the Steelers defense now on pumpkin watch, just like the Jets defense is, and the Steelers offense, I don't think Rodgers is going to save the day. I don't know. Let me look real quick. Who did the Steelers have next? The Steelers, Steelers at Patriots. That's a huge game for both sides there. So Steelers at Patriots, that's an interesting one. They then get the Vikings, who should be playing a backup, and the Browns, and then the schedule really gets hard. So the Steelers need to go at least 2-1 in the next 3. I don't know if I'm optimistic about that. Patriots beat the Dolphins 33-27 in one of the more exciting games of the weekend. Drake May was awesome. Tua was not. Mike McDaniel seems ready to be fired. And Damonza, Mike McDaniel could get fired this week. Because they play Thursday in Buffalo. That could be a bloodbath. And if that happens, I don't know. Tua and Tyreek are still not on the same page. I don't
know how that game is
really ugly in Miami.
Given
What'd
what
you
I've
say?
seen from Miami, I don't know how that game is anything but a blowout. Like I don't. Miami's from what I've seen.
Divisional game on a Thursday,
is the one saving grace.
But still, it feels like Buffalo's gonna mollywop them.
Yeah.
Colts beat the Broncos 29-28 thanks to the rarely called leverage penalty after a 60-yard missed field goal. Listen, the Broncos deserve to be 1-1. They had no business winning week 1. They did. They should have won week 2. They didn't. Also, Bo Nix was terrible week 1, and they won, so nobody cared. He was awesome in week 2. He threw one bad pick, but am I right about that? I think he threw the pick late in the game. But he was unbelievable in the first half, but they lost anyway. Again, I picked the Broncos, Damonza, to miss the playoffs, and I said I thought they were going to start awesome. I picked them to miss the playoffs anticipating a 2-0 start. They're now 1-1 and yet to look good. And they still have that brutal end-of-season stretch of Chiefs, Commanders, Raiders, Packers, Jags, Chiefs, Chargers. And next week, they're at the Chargers, winner potentially in first place, or will be in first place in the division. And Jacob in the chat wants me to admit Daniel Jones to the truth. I'm getting a lot of Saints last year Derek Carr vibes from this Colts Daniel Jones 2-0, numbers amazing. And Saints last year started 2-0. Carr looked unbelievable. Then it all fell apart. And Cardinals defeated the Panthers in one of the worst NFL games ever played. All right, great job, Damonza. Appreciate you. Great job to Blue Duck Volume. Thank you to Hard Rock. Thank you to Boost. Thank you to SeatGeek. Thank you to my driver who's been waiting for an hour. I got to run. I'll see you guys on Colin in a little more than an hour. Thursday, regular show. Friday, gambling show. All coming up this week. Talk to you guys then. What's right?